Welcome to the RePsychled podcast, where we discuss everyday issues from a mental health perspective. We are your hosts, Dr. Rashonda Strickland,
Dr. LaFanya Jones-Hines,
and Dr. Nichelle Wall. Now, don't get it twisted. We're not going to be your stereotypical therapist.
What we will be is informative, down to earth, a little spicy, and vulnerable.
All right, interns, turn up your volume, grab your pen and paper. It's supervision time. As a reminder, this podcast is not meant to take the place of a relationship with a licensed mental health professional.
Welcome back to session 57, Movie Mental Breakdown, Acrimony 2018.
Mm-hmm. So we did have somebody that requested this one. We're not going to say who it is, but we did have somebody request this a long time ago, I think, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So here you go, Acrimony. This is starring, now we're not going to go through everybody because there are young and old versions of pretty much all the characters in this film, but the main characters are Taraji P. Henson plays Melinda, Lyriq Bent plays Robert, Crystal Stewart plays Diana, and the young version of Melinda is played by Ajiona Alexus. Please forgive me if I mispronounce that. And young Robert is played by Antonio Madison. Okay. So y'all know I love movie. Now, let me go ahead and put this out there. I had never seen this film until we decided to do MMB, and it was a roller coaster ride. I will say that. It's definitely a Tyler Perry movie. Let me say that, if there ever was one. But it was interesting, though.
He does better with this genre than comedy, to be honest. Because them shows on BT be hot mess.
Oh, see, I don't watch those. The haves and have-nots and stuff.
He got like 5 of them.
Yeah, I haven't watched those. So
yeah, I've been hearing a lot about those. But I will say this movie is a roller coaster ride, if there ever is one. Lots of thoughts, good and bad. And since this was my first time seeing a film, please forgive me if I go out of order with the scenes or I forget what the scene was, because I don't have the background history to give me all of the, like, this is what happened next. But anyway, in the opening scene, you see Melinda is in court. So they did like that good 90s throwback where we start with the end of the movie and then go back to the beginning. You know, like, let me tell you a little bit. We're going to go way back, back in the time. So she is in court, and basically this judge is giving her the business. He is not trying to hear nothing she got to say.
Rightfully so.
Like, he was warning her, like, leave these people alone. And by these people, we're talking about her ex-husband Robert and his soon-to-be new wife Diana. And she say some stuff, and you can tell. One thing I do appreciate about Taraji, she can play somebody that got issues.
And them facial expressions be given the business.
If looks could kill,
yes,
everyone in that film would have been dead. Because her face is amazing.
She wasn't having none of that.
None of it. So, one of the things that I was saying in this opening scene was, I think she gives a very good introduction to dissociation, because you can just kind of tell, like, once she was staring at Diana, I believe, she was staring at her, you can see, like, her just go off into a whole nother world. Like, she was not,
eyes unfocused.
She had a blank stare,
thought process that don't got nothing to do with what's going on.
Yeah, she had a whole blank stare, just like in La La Land in her mind.
And for those that don't know what dissociation is basically, the simple version is going into like a trance, a trance state. You're not aware of what's going on around you. the very, very simple version is like daydreaming.
Yeah.
You know,
La La Land.
That's
It's not
the
always
easy-
a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not always a bad thing. You ever been driving and then you realize like, oh, I'm home and I have no idea
How I got there.
how I got home.
To some of you who may have addiction, that's called a blackout.
That too. So she
non-medicated.
so she was definitely out of there. But when you hear and see the rest of the story unfold, it makes sense. You know, in the beginning scene, it's kind of like, okay, this lady is off her rocker. But again, like as you see the movie unfold, it starts to make sense. So then she receives court-ordered therapy for anger management. And
Because she needs it, and she has had issues with it her whole life.
yeah, I felt a couple of different ways about that. I agree that she has always had some anger issues. The other thing I was like, man, it kind of goes back to that trope again, is that no one was really taking into consideration all of the junk that has happened to her, that has even led to her
Being in court.
Yeah.
And then the only thing that she was kind of boxed into being was this angry. Jealous, you know, woman. And later on, we will see that the judge is like big upping the ex-spouse. And again, just kind of degrading her and not listening to, you know, everything that she's saying, really. Then the other thing I was kind of thinking about was, does court-ordered anger management actually work?
For some people.
I was just going to say, for some people it does. I think it just depends on whether or not the person is ready. Just like anything else that's court ordered.
Now, what I will say, let's just be honest, she didn't go to no court-ordered anger management, though. She went to a regular therapist because really she would have ended up getting some type of program she should have had to work for her level of anger, stalking, craziness that she was doing. Like, she didn't have to work a BIP, which is a batterers intervention and prevention program. Like, she didn't have to do none of that. She just went and sat on the couch and talked about her life. She came and talked to one of us.
Right. And I was thinking about that too. I said, man, they skipped a bunch of steps.
Well, I wonder if the judge gave her leniency because, one, it was her first offense. Well, I'm assuming because this was their first time showing her in court, but it was her first offense, and you know she hadn't had to go through this process any other time, and then you know, so he probably gave her the lesser of the I don't want to say evils, the lesser of the treatments.
And that's a possibility, but typically in those situations you have a court approved provider that provides that specific service, and so I'm just kind of like,
yeah, but we also, you know, I want to be fair in that this is a movie, and we all know that movies are not always how the real world operates. But I did appreciate that at least they sent her to therapy
and didn't give her a sentence in jail.
Now, the therapist asked a very interesting question that I thought, excuse me guys, sorry about that.
You need me to go get you some water.
So the thing that I was, you know, kind of keying in on when she was asking her a bunch of questions, she asked her if she was entitled to this anger. Now I had to rewind this like 4 or 5 times because I couldn't quite understand what she actually asked her. But I thought that was an interesting question because, for one, I don't know, it almost felt slightly judgy to me. Because yes, why would someone not be entitled to what they were feeling?
See, I feel like, so I understood the question, but I think she asked the wrong question. Like, because I understand what you're saying. Like, why wouldn't she be entitled? Do you understand what she's been going through? So I think it could have been a different question, but I understand why she asked the question.
I think for me, it was the timing of when you're asking this. This is this woman's first appointment. You haven't established any rapport with her to be able to ask a question of that nature, you know?
yeah.
You already see that she's in a very heightened emotional state. She's very sensitive. And the diagnosis that you're going to ask her about later on, my mind went to like, wouldn't that have keyed you into that's going to be a combative question?
Which was, that's why I was thinking she could have asked it differently, because she like punched. That was a question for like, if I've been seeing you 10 times,
right? That's why I was like, for a first appointment, I was like, man, that's like you really coming out the gate with it.
Yeah, and I don't also think it was wisdom to ask that question from the standpoint of that person may not understand their emotions. Obviously, to a certain degree, she does understand her emotions, as we hear, but she does not know what to do with them. So she's not as well versed in the whole emoting process, because obviously she done already harmed herself before, and we'll get into that, but it's a matter of, I think the therapist wasn't like reading the room, and in reality she wasn't reading that room at all, because she could have got her own self hurt with this particular client.
I was it just threw me off a little bit. I was like, I'm not gonna say it's not a question that I wouldn't have asked. However, I would have worded it very differently, and I would not have been asking that in a first session. It was just interesting to me. The answer was also interesting to me, that he, owed every breath in his body to her.
And honestly, I liked her answer, because that's actually what she really thought, which is why she thought she was entitled to her anger.
Although it is delusional.
It's definitely unhealthy, but I think there was a lot of meat and potatoes in there for a therapist to go somewhere with her.
Yeah, I would definitely say that you could go a bunch of different ways with that. I think it kind of speaks to what you were saying about being in tune with your emotions. Yeah, it sounds like she's in tune with the thought that's connected to her anger or whatever feelings that she's feeling, maybe not necessarily knowing what feeling word to place in that space, but the thought behind, this is the reason I'm saying that I'm entitled to these feelings.
I think truly what was going through her head is that she is angry with herself.
Oh, of course. For
finally listening to her sisters and going the route that she went, when in all actuality, she, to a certain degree, had been doing the right thing the whole time. Now she needed some hope, some boundaries, because Lord, she didn't have not damn boundary through this marriage. But he was telling the truth. He really was, everything that happened was because he was diligent about that. And we're talking about after she kicked him out or whatever. But I think really she was angry with herself that the life that she wanted was no longer attainable.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
Because she lost it, because she gave it up, she felt like he was the reason she gave it up, which I can understand why she did, because he didn't move fast enough for her.
Yeah, but I mean, he did give her what she was owed. You know what I mean? But she wanted the life. She didn't want the money. She wanted the life.
Yeah, I think when we get into that, I have a few thoughts about that. So another thing, I just wrote a little side note, was she had commented on the therapist writing something down. And I was like, in every single movie, I don't know why they have therapists writing notes in session. I don't know too many people that actually write notes in session.
And if
in front of, like, if actually with a notepad in front of a client.
If I need to write something, I'd be like, hold on, let me write that down so I won't forget something. Not because I'm writing something from my client. It's more so like, okay, they asked me something, I may not have the answer off the top of my head. And so I'm just like, okay, I ain't gonna remember that. Chemo brain.
Yeah, I was like, that's so interesting that like movies just keep that going. I'm like, I don't know any therapist that like actually take notes in session.
And it's not a good way to keep your charts up to date either.
Yeah, I don't know if that, not currently. I think they used to back in the day, but not currently. And probably unless you're an older therapist.
Right. And she did sound like she might be, but it was just weird to me.
What I found was interesting about her description about herself is that she played weak, pathetic, and strong for him.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting of her to describe herself that way, because the weak and the pathetic descriptions of herself is what was driving her, or the memories of her being weak and pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think the reality is she didn't see herself correctly because nothing about her was weak or pathetic. She needed some boundaries, but she wasn't weak or pathetic. She actually was a very supportive, significant other. I think she just really, it's like what we were saying in the past session, you know, you really can't be letting family come in your relationships, because those expectations of theirs become yours, and now they done hyped you up and you out here doing stupid stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah. One of the things I was also writing in my notes, kind of that it's very similar to what y'all just said, but like she overindulged in like the pick me, you know, category. And, you know, I was like, okay, again, we're not going to get all of the stuff in a movie, but I would have wanted to dive into that idea a little bit more. Of course, I would have not told her that she was being a pick-me, but like, where did you learn your, you know, references about men?
Her mama.
Because she did say it in when she was talking to Robert at the when she made the F. And she said, well, my mama already don't think that I'm as smart as my sisters. And she said some more stuff to that. I can't remember what else she said, but it was, so she had an idea of who other people thought she was.
Yeah, her mom had already done something to her, but you know, the reality is she didn't have a complete family raising her anyway. You know, there were parts that we didn't get fully in her history, but it seemed like, you know, there wasn't really a strong father figure there.
No, he was like her,
but you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
like healthy,
his presence.
Yeah. You know, because Lord, and it seems like the way all the girls were taught how to be women was not the healthiest, because even the sisters had jacked up marriages
and well, except for the maybe the middle girl.
No, she did too.
No, all of them had.
No, I'm saying their attitudes.
Oh, attitudes
and
gotcha.
personalities.
Oh, gotcha.
No,
I
one
thought you were
was
talking about
sweet.
husbands.
Yeah. No, I jumped to attitudes. Yes, I agree with the husbands, but I'm talking about but adding to that the personalities.
Yeah, you definitely had one that was rough around the edges, and then you had the extremes. Which you're going to get that in a family based off, you know, if you have multiple children and then you have a extreme family dynamic, you're going to get one that is, you know, a little abrasive on this end. You're going to get one that's kind of in the background and the people pleaser on this end. And then you'll likely probably have one that's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But it looks like they had two
aggressive ones.
Two aggressive ones.
Well, no, she was in the middle. Because she technically was always very passive until she was pushed
Oh, you talking about
crazy
Melinda?
town.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So then we, you know, kind of transition over into their meet cute story.
I know.
That really ain't so cute, but, you know.
At all.
And this is like, man, this is the introduction to like, okay, something is gone awry here.
Right.
So she comes out of some building, I guess getting ready to go somewhere, and
maybe a library or something.
Yeah.
Studying.
And
she had
her
books and stuff.
and Robert bump into each other in the rain.
Hard though.
Hard. They bumped into each other in the rain, and she commences to start wailing on this dude.
Anger
hitting him.
management.
Yes.
That's we were talking about that, and that's what made me think she had maybe what you call it? Intermittent explosive disorder.
That was my first
Don't be
thought.
surprised.
My first thought was, okay, is this intermittent explosive disorder? Because I was like, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, y'all just bumped into each other,
and you start fighting on this man,
and your mind interpreted it as he bumped into you.
So you
versus,
already not rational.
right? Versus y'all bumped into each other because it's raining outside and you can't see as well, and you're rushing, and you just came and made this sharp turn out of a building. So, but no, he bumped into me, but then felt okay hitting a complete stranger,
right?
And leaving your stuff there. Like, you so upset at whatever that you hit someone you don't even know and you leave your stuff in the rain to never be found again. Luckily for her, he was willing to come and return it to her at her dorm room, I'm assuming, right?
Well, I wonder if it was because she still had some of his too. Because she had something of his. I don't know if it was a paper or something.
They picked each other's stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, she still left her book, but I mean, she picked up something, left something, and he was just stunned.
And he was still trying to be charming, though. When he went to, and she was being so rude to him when he came to the dorm room. She was being so rude to him, and he was still trying to be charming.
Was she?
And didn't even realize she was being rude because her friend was like, "What? Why?"
Mm-hmm. She was. I mean, over the top.
I was like, you need a hug.
Mm-hmm. Because I was thinking, this is poor stress management. Mm-hmm. And that's what also led my mind to intermittent explosive. So here's your, we're going to probably get a couple Psych 101s up in here today. So intermittent explosive disorder is basically you go from 0 to 100 real quick, but there is literally like no explanation on why you've gone from 0 to 100.
Now, before y'all start saying that's me, because I child 2.5 seconds, because I used to say that a lot about me, but 2.5 seconds and I'm already there. That no, there's other things to that too, but that's the main thing.
And it's an irrational amount of anger. Like we're not just saying I'm upset. Like this is rage. Like there is a difference. We've talked about levels before on, well, I'm frustrated versus annoyed versus irritated, anger, livid, furious, rage. Like this particular diagnosis is 0 to rage.
Yeah.
In 2.5 seconds.
Because it would have been understandable for her to like maybe cuss him out or something.
Like,
but you done beat the man up, cussed him out, made a scene. Like it's a whole other situation that done happen. Like the stimulus does not match the reaction.
Exactly. But once her friend kind of called her out on being a little like, you being a little rude, she calmed down and then she started looking at him then.
Because he is cute.
She was like, oh, okay, hold on, wait. I'm still steaming on the inside, but you look cute.
One of the things that I liked, even though it wasn't her scenario, but I like that she said is that the devil knows how to put the package together of all the things she loved. And y'all, we've talked about this before of y'all, of us all being mindful of what we're going after, because the devil does know how to put that package together.
And this is kind of our first introduction as well, as they're doing this whole little montage that the present Melinda is explaining about the past, that we learn she's not necessarily that academically inclined and she's struggling in school. She's been compared to her sisters. So it seems like her sisters may be a little bit more slightly advanced in compared to her. And this has contributed a lot to the frustration and anger and probably defeatist attitude that she has.
Yeah, and I was thinking that because of those descriptions that Dr. Strickland just said, that could have been one of the things that was validating, what she was thinking was validating her anger, because she didn't feel like she was being heard. She didn't feel like her opinion was being taken into consideration. And so those are some of the things that people, when you're not being heard and your opinion, you feel like your opinion doesn't matter, it can come out in different ways so that you feel like it is being heard.
And I was thinking, as I was watching this particular section of the movie, I was like, when you were just talking about the package thing, I was like, she was desperate to feel any type of vulnerability. And he provided a space for her to even get a glimpse of what it was like to feel taken care of.
Which makes me wonder what happened with her and the other guy, Devin, that she dated.
Later, you talking about later on in the movie?
Well, she had dated him before.
Oh,
I think it just didn't work out.
That.
I think he just was boring.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he looked boring as an adult, so he was probably boring as a kid, and probably just not her style. If she was reacting to strangers like that, she sure was reacting to, people she knew.
Yeah,
probably. Well, at this time, we also learned that her mother, or her and her sister's mother, has passed away. and she takes Robert to the funeral. Well, no. Was he at the funeral or
He was at the repast.
At the repast? Okay. And the sisters, I mean,
went ham
immediately. Brenda, I mean, she was like, yeah, no. I don't know what she smelled off him. I don't know what her eyeballs was looking at, but she said, no, I'm not for it.
And see, that's when she was being messy and kind of just skipped over Robert and was like talking to Devin when Devin entered. I was like, you being messy.
Yeah, that's all I was saying him. I think she was being a little uppity. You know, I don't know if it was she could sense that Robert was maybe his SES was a little bit lower, or that
they talk about him being from the other side of the tracks and all that other kind of stuff, and he probably didn't look the part of somebody they thought should be on their sister's arm, which I'm just like, y'all treat her like crap. Well, not all of y'all, but y'all treat her like crap, so why would you assume anything?
That she would look for something different or on a higher level,
or what y'all deem to be good,
right?
Because you can tell that this is at least a middle class family, you know, with all these kids and everybody done went to college and stuff,
and the house is paid for
completely.
Absolutely. But I was like, well, I understood where the sister was coming from, the sentiment behind what she was trying to communicate. Her method, though,
and that tone and that pitch was not communicated well.
Yeah,
it was lost.
Very much so. And the thing is, people forget when you start downing someone that another person is with, that's the kind of thing that just drives them to that person even more. Because if she's already kind of in that pick me headspace, he's already, kind of highlighted and triggered some vulnerabilities in her and some.
And she was vulnerable from her mom dying.
Yeah,
too.
and some sense of safety.
Yeah.
Then he's going to even more seem like somebody that I should run to. So, I mean, you got to also be upset with your sister, at least one sister, that they helped drive you to this man as well.
And which sister was that?
That was Brenda.
The oldest one.
Yeah, she was having none of it.
And then, where were you going? Let me make sure I'm.
Well, this is the part where he's getting ready to walk back to the bus.
Yes. And I felt like this is the beginning of her not setting boundaries.
Yep. That's what I said. I said that was the initial. That was the start right there.
Also, I think the sister, another part of the sister setting her up for failure on pushing her towards him, they also were letting too much information out about their financial stuff. Not saying that they let everything out, but that's also going to give him some inclination into what she got as well, even though she clearly told him.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. She told him
that stuff was already coming out, and I'm like, everybody don't need to know everything.
That's true
That
too.
is true. That is so true.
Very true. But I also agree with you, Dr. Jones Hines, that this was the start of and people are very, while in the end he ended up being correct, you're not gonna know that in the beginning.
Yes.
So in the beginning, yes, that's his initial like, oh, okay, that's information for me to use. Like, all right, so she'll leave her family to come help me out. Okay. It starts off innocent, but as people continue to collect data on you,
they see your patterns.
So now I know how to use this information in a way that helps and serves my purposes.
Yeah. Now, I still definitely think if she had had boundaries, they still would have been together. But I think it would have been a much healthier relationship for her.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
And for him. He would have been a better man before he went through all of that stuff.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Because I definitely think she should have let him take the bus. Why you leave the repast with your family?
Yeah.
First of all, I got to get a plate. I'm not doing all that.
Yeah. Because I'm like, he got there on his own.
Right. Because you didn't go pick him up.
It was fine.
You didn't even know. I don't even know if you knew he was coming.
I don't think she did. I think she was a little surprised, or not in a bad way, but in a good way that he had showed up, if I remember correctly.
No, I can see that because I don't remember. I mean, I know she didn't go pick him up.
Yeah. But she was laying she took the first step on the yellow brick road there. So I don't quite remember what was happening between these next couple of scenes.
So they went to his trailer. She dropped,
Oh, that's right.
And I was like,
I wrote RV, but I was like, no, there's 2 RV scenes. But I couldn't remember which one this was.
This one remind me like it was like he took this straight from Love Jones, because he was like, "Can I play you a song?"
And of course he
did. You know how Tyler Perry is. He always got memorable scenes inside of memorable scenes.
And even her response was like Nia Long when she said, "It's kind of sad."
Mm-hmm. First of all, this scene grossed me out so much because I'm just like, your mama just died, and I was like, I get the needing for comfort, but I was just so.
You lost your virginity on the same day y'all buried your mama?
And I thought the song, what I wrote, I said, isn't this a befitting song playing in the background? So what was playing in the background was I Put a Spell on You by Nina Simone. So, so this was foreshadowing, basically.
For both of them.
And she even said, it's kind of sad. Like, you're not listening?
I mean, he did have great taste. What I'll also say about this scene is the fact that we can already see that he's a dreamer. He talks a lot about, future things whenever they do talk to each other. That's why he's into the music. That's why he's paying attention to all these different things. He's knowledgeable about a lot of stuff he really probably shouldn't be knowledgeable about, but he has a brilliant mind. The work ethic is not the greatest.
The other thing that I liked about this scene too is that he allowed himself to be vulnerable, and he shared with, and so I felt like that was possibly him being vulnerable because he knew she was also vulnerable in that moment as well. So that, I think that made also her feel safe and comfortable.
Yeah. Because go ahead.
But what she took away from that was that he took advantage of her.
Even though that wasn't what it was. I think she was not well versed in common sense. We can see that throughout the movie. And this is a man who is well versed in common sense and well versed in street and intellectual, because the man is smart. And so, he's probably thinking, okay, she probably understands this as well, just based off of her SES. Based off of the money, based off of, okay, she's in college and ain't no problem with her going to college. You know what I'm saying? And so they're having a conversation, but they're not saying the same things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking in this scene, I was like, okay, so this is just another one of those where she's not taking stock of really where she is, because
Clinging.
I don't know, because she was so young. I mean, I know she was, I don't know if she would have the wherewithal to be able to do that.
Well, I don't think it was she was young. I think it's because she wasn't taught it. Because
I think it's a combination.
We can honestly say that we had some sense. We probably did some stupid stuff, but we really did know what we was doing. Versus she's like the lost child. You know what I mean? Nobody's helping her do nothing. And her already being in college, they just probably was like, oh, you in college, I don't need to help you do nothing for real now.
Yeah. One of the things that I wrote in there after she was talking about, he took advantage of her, I wrote, well, how would he know what she didn't know?
Right. Because I don't even know if they had that conversation, because they typically don't have that type of conversation of, are you still a virgin? What kind of experiences do you have? Because she's probably ain't even had no experience.
No.
And that's not the conversation you have after a funeral.
Right.
At all.
But, it felt like there was a lack of personal responsibility that was taken for her choice. Now, yes, were you in a vulnerable state? Yes. Absolutely. I would not take that away from, from her. However, you were also willing and engaging and seeking that same thing from him. So how can he know what you don't even know?
And y'all not in a committed relationship. I think a lot of people who saw this movie, they kind of forgot they not in no committed relationship. She just met this boy.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure she never asked him that until, you know, the first time all hell breaks loose. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, I think people kind of, they were probably in an era where certain things happen in a certain way. So the next step should have been us being together in a committed relationship, no outside people and all that. But that's not necessarily what happened. You dealing with a street dude. You got to say the specifics.
Right.
All of us done dated street dudes. We know if he didn't say it, it ain't what it is.
Yeah, she just got caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
So then we get back to their home, and the sisters are talking about, you know, they just really going in on him. They do not like this dude. They think that he's out for her money, which on the surface,
that's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like.
But it's not.
But it seemed like he also opened her eyes to something different, which was Nina Simone, because she didn't know nothing about that type of music.
I think she is providing him with some financial support that he needed, because let's just be honest, he did need it. He living in a trailer that was passed down, just like this house was passed down to them. So he is needing that, and he is leaning on her, I will say, too much. And then he is teaching her about life, because wasn't nobody teaching her nothing. Not even about her body.
That's true.
But the way they kind of wrap him up in the movie, in the beginning portions, it does seem very manipulative. You know, I can see where she was coming from, because I was thinking specifically about that the car, and how he had the magazine, and how even just the way he said about him needing a car, you know, he wouldn't be able to get a ride, or he wouldn't be able to make it there on time. I can't remember specifically
it's
what
the
he said.
passive aggressive.
Yeah.
It's I think he felt like it was okay because they've been dealing with each other, but he didn't want to come straight out and say it. And so he went the passive aggressive route, which is just, it's not healthy, whether
it feels
either
creepy.
way. Yeah, it's weird. And I think because she was like, he's providing me with so much, I want to also provide him with anything I can provide him with monetarily. And she became everything he needed, and did not realize that he was not in a place to do the same for her. And I'm not saying that
after
all of that is on her shoulders to figure out, because he should also be figuring this stuff out as well. But that's the reality.
And so I think he was able to give her what she needed to a certain extent and a certain point, because when her mom passed, he gave her that comfort. I'm not talking about sexual, but he gave her that space to be able to come and feel, even sex too. But I'm just saying, he gave her that space, he gave her that security, and he shared with her as well. But after a certain point, like you said, if he don't know what he need to give her, because she can't ask for it. And this type of relationship was going obviously in a different direction. It was going to probably to a direction that he's never experienced, to a different type of commitment.
Yeah. And I was also thinking about that scene. This is the beginnings of when she starts to feel manipulated. You know, I don't think she felt that at the funeral when she gave him the ride, but she, you know, it just takes a seedling, you know. This is that mustard seed of sorts, because she was like,
and they've already said that too, so that's playing on her mind. And then he was making
wording
it the way he's wording it.
He was promising her marriage and showed her the penthouse,
right? So I was like, this is I think the beginnings were definitely at the funeral, but those doubts and that second voice that she has, I think that was the beginning there. You know, I think her lack of boundaries started with the funeral, but she got two minds going about him.
And see that we've talked about in relationship topics before, is you have to pay attention to those voices, but you definitely have to check of whether or not they are trauma responses or if they're their intuition. And she had, I don't think she had experienced any traumas. Well, they haven't said, they didn't say.
Emotional.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to pay attention to which one they are.
Mm-hmm. And I think this scene kind of spoke to that there are a multitude of ways to control and gaslight people without yelling and screaming or coming with malicious intent.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he was ever malicious in what he was doing. His intent was not to hurt her, but it was still manipulative.
Yeah.
In what he was doing.
I agree.
Because the power of suggestion is real. Like, you know, you just think about hypnosis, you know, people that are susceptible to that. So she was an individual that was vulnerable to the power of suggestion.
Because she wanted to be accepted by somebody.
Absolutely.
And she wanted to feel something. She said that she wanted to feel something.
So then we moved to the dinner table. And the siblings are like, we moving out. We getting married. And I was like, y'all get married at the same time? But
this was
but
so
you can
harsh.
tell that they had been in them relationships for forever. And girl.
Yeah, but I was like, y'all just didn't care about her at all. We're getting married. We're moving out. You got to take care of the house.
Right. I was like, that's so harsh. Like, we can't have this a different type of conversation
And
in a
she the
different
baby.
way. Right. And your mama just died. You're not going to tell her how to pay bills or make sure she is going to be okay. Like, you're not going to make sure none of that.
Yeah. And I think this again, so we were probably going to talk about this later, but the therapist asked her if she knew about borderline personality disorder. And one of the kind of cruxes of this particular personality type is a fear of abandonment, whether real or perceived. And if you were going to diagnose her with this would have been a trigger point. You know, I'm being abandoned by my siblings. This would have been a real versus a perceived. But I'm being left to take care of this home by myself. And y'all just randomly decide to tell me that y'all just going to leave. Y'all getting married and y'all leaving.
And see, I think this is another situation where her sisters didn't read the room. She was clearly not. This was another dissociation type of situation because she was clearly not in the room. And this is what you just sprang on her.
But they also know her. You know what I mean? They know that she gonna take whatever they give her, and so they use that to their advantage, which is why in this whole story I'm kind of like, I don't know why the sisters had so much pull over her life when they've been mistreating her the whole time. So it's just kind of like, really? That's, you know, y'all always pitting her against her, eventually her husband, but y'all ain't been there for her either. So she's going to cling to this man. Now y'all gonna rip that away, but y'all not gonna be there to like pick her up.
Yeah.
Again, this is the kind of stuff that drives people to others.
Yep.
You know, like we've already been talking about, she's already sensitive and vulnerable and open to being love bombed, essentially. And when you're need starved in an area, you will go head first into whomever that is offering that thing to you. And
you'll do anything you can do to keep from being abandoned.
Yeah. So what did she do? She ran back to him. But this was also the other thing that I wrote here, because in this next kind of montage of scene, I said, if she ever had the upper hand, like an official upper hand, this would have been it, because she had already purchased the vehicle. But he wasn't calling her, or he was being inconsistent with calling her or something at this point.
He was messing off. That's really what it was. He had multiple women, which I'm pretty sure he had multiple women the whole time. I think that's just was his lifestyle for real.
But he became more inconsistent with reaching out to her and communicating with her, which was why she left the dinner table to go to her room to call him.
And he was kind of dismissive almost, or distant when she called. And the thing that I wrote in my notes was, this would have been the time for you to process your guilt and your shame about buying this car for him, learn the lesson, and move forward. If this was going to be the time that you were going to leave, and still have a healthy version of yourself present, this would have been it.
What triggered her in this scene?
He hadn't been calling her.
Well, after that,
the way he was talking to her over the phone.
Yes.
That made her go to the trailer, which we'll talk about.
I was trying to remember, was it this point when it was the music, or was it this point when it was the words? I was trying to get my line together. Hey.
Hey, girl. What you been up to?
Nothing much, just working. Trying some new things. You know I like to make them corns, honey.
Okay, ma'am. What are these new things?
Well, I am thinking about starting a podcast.
Seriously?
Yes.
Ooh. You know we have one, right?
I thought y'all did. Okay, so good. I'm talking to the right people. I've been doing some research and I've been trying to figure out a hosting site.
Okay.
Okay. You can use the one we use. We use Anchor.
Hold on, though. Hold on. You know, y'all balling.
Here she goes.
Y'all balling, so y'all can afford to do that. Is it free?
Yeah, girl, it's free. You know we're not out here trying to spend all that money. We keep our coins in the bank. Plus, it has a lot of great tools that help you to sound very professional.
Come on through, professional. Okay. So it got good tools and it's free. So where can I put it?
So you can find it pretty much everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. I mean, pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Yeah.
Okay. Because y'all know I'm an Apple girl.
Yes. Whatever. We do. But get this.
Okay.
You can also make some money with it too. And you don't even have to have a whole bunch of listeners either.
Wait a minute. Seriously?
Yeah, sponsorships.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So basically this thing is just like a big old one-stop shop.
Okay. So then I really just need to go ahead and download this free Anchor app.
Yeah, or you can just go to anchor.fm if you want to do it on your little laptop and you can just immediately get started.
Okay. Well, you know what? I knew I came to the right room. I knew it. Boss ladies.
We got your
Thank
back.
you,
We
lady.
got your back.
You welcome. So anyway, what you got going on this weekend?
Girl, I'm shopping. I be liking to make coins, but I like to spend them too.
Yes.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm just going to take a nap.
That sounds like you.
Well, I do be sleepy. Y'all don't like bed?
Because she definitely drove over to his patient. Cause that woman's intuition, as they say.
Because she said she knew the bitch inside of her was a motherfucker.
But FYI, don't do that, okay? People, don't drive over to nobody's house because your life, whatever, living or behind bars, is not worth that.
And one of the things she said in here was the phone call made her pay attention to her intuition and said he had not seen the bitch inside of her. So
no, he saw it.
Yeah, but the phone call didn't make her pay attention to her intuition. The phone call made her pay attention to her trauma response.
Yeah, because her intuition should have been firing from get-go.
Exactly.
Right. Because she would have been gone.
But this is, I know we about to go into this, but this is also like once this incident occurs that we about to unpack, this is also when her sisters were like, we know she get mad. And you kind of hear that theme throughout the story. Like, y'all know she got problems like this? And y'all just letting her flutter through the world.
First of all, y'all see that again, they're not reading the room because y'all see she's already distant. You pack this on her about y'all moving out. Now she go upstairs. She done left the scene. And now she getting ready to go out. Y'all just let her go out the house?
Yeah.
Even if y'all didn't know what was going on between her and Robert, y'all know what y'all had just told her.
Yeah. Nobody said, are you okay? What do you think about that?
Because it seemed like her mama was the
do?
only one that kept her calm. And she gone.
Right.
She behind the veil.
See, this is why you have to, I know. This is why you have to pay attention to who you got in your support system. Yeah. The people that you have in your support system have to know your personality, have to know your trigger points, have to know all of that stuff because all of us know what we get triggered by. Yeah. So we know if you're triggered, okay, so this ain't the time to keep poking the bear. Let's talk, let's figure something out. Even if we're not talking about what's poking the bear, we can stay here long enough to like make sure the situation is calm.
Yeah. Side note, we all went out and Dr. Jones Hines was being assaulted in front of her husband while we were dancing or whatever. And I looked at her, I said, don't hit that woman.
Because my husband didn't know what was going on at first.
I kept saying, don't you hit that woman. she was staring at me with the death stare. I said, don't you hit that woman. So all of a sudden I knew it was coming. She turned around and was like dancing super hard on the woman back, and she eventually moved. But I knew I needed to make eye contact with her.
That's hilarious.
So that was my trigger point.
Yes.
I love it. The other thing that I was thinking about this one is how upset do you have to be to sit outside somebody's house for an hour straight? In the car.
And what was y'all doing this whole hour?
You know what they was doing.
I mean, you just not put your hand on
knocking up.
Well, you know you got to get the foreplay going first.
Yeah, that's true.
They probably had a little popcorn.
The little Simone playing.
Mm-hmm. But the way that anger ran over her, I was like, oh, this is not healthy. This level of anger, like I felt this level of anger, but my reaction has not been this reaction, because I'm not gonna put my life in harm. Like when I get angry, the calmness, y'all think I'm calm now? The level of calm that comes over me, it's like, oh, she's at assassin level.
I have been at this level now, of course, not in this age. So let me go ahead and say this is at least
Melinda age.
So we're saying she's early 20s. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll go with that. I've not run my car into something. Let me say that, but I have shown this level of rage before.
And you probably had just cause.
I did.
Yours was not. You didn't go to the limbic rage. You didn't go to that level.
It was situational rage. Yeah, it was definitely situational. But it is something that is extremely destructive.
It is.
You know, and that was the thing that I was thinking about when I was watching this scene. You know, that she drove her vehicle, her truck or SUV into the side of this trailer, backed it up, drove it into it again.
People just screaming.
Yeah, like this again. This is dissociation. Like she's not present.
Yeah,
in this moment.
It almost make me wonder if she has. Well, they don't call it multiple personalities, but multiple personality disorder. Because like, did you become like the other one? Like,
yeah,
she just checked out. I mean, it's how people. The level, like you were saying, the level of dissociation is real when you get into that. Because she obviously, for real, has some personality disorders. I don't know if I would necessarily say it was borderline, but
it's something in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I was conflicted with the borderline because I was like,
but you know, Tyler wrote this. He ain't no psychologist.
Right.
Yeah, I was conflicted
and
with
the thing
borderline,
about
too.
it is, I understood. I've never been to this level because when I was back in the day, I just fight you because I'm mad. So I ain't have to be at this level.
She said, "Look, I was only at a level 6. You don't want to see a 10,
right?" And it wasn't for no reason. It was just cause because you done got in my face and I'm gonna beat that ass. So
this is obviously an explicit show.
Well, we told y'all it was coming.
Okay, so I'm okay.
She's resigned. She's good to go now.
Yes.
But so I understand that level of catching your man. I mean, like you caught him in the act. Now I ain't saying you driving your car into his RV or trailer or whatever, but I understand the emotional
toll that'll take.
Yeah. Like you saw with your own eyes. It ain't like somebody said, girl, I done saw your husband or your boyfriend coming out of the trailer with such and such. No. You saw these with your 2 eyes.
And heard it.
And saw the hand. So like it was good because the hand went on the window.
They did that Titanic. You remember in Titanic when she had put the hand on that sweaty car? Yeah. Okay, so I get it. Sorry about that if y'all heard that in the background. But see, the thing about that is I completely understand where her feelings are coming from. It's always, and this is the thing I tell my clients, the feeling that you feel is not the problem. It's how you express and show this feeling is what can become the issue.
The reaction.
And for somebody who has no emotional training, the 0 to 100 is always gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
There's no stopper. It's just like, I think I should stop. No,
because she don't have anything in between. She don't have a coping skill in between.
Exactly how we talked to y'all about, like, there's like Dr. Strickland was saying, there's different levels of emotions. You know how we said bliss is the utmost level of happy. The level of her rage. That's the scary version.
Yeah.
I was talking about this earlier with a client, weirdly enough, that, you know, I don't want to go into too much detail, but this person ended up injuring themselves in a rage moment. And the thing that I was talking about was, so now you have a moment in time that is now going to extend beyond that moment in time. So 2 seconds of your life is now going to cost you several weeks of pain and other issues and things that you have to deal with. The same thing happened with her. A moment in time, unfortunately, cost her reproductive system. So now you will literally never bear children because of a moment in time.
Yeah.
So when you go back and you think about, did the ends justify the means?
No, it didn't. And she wasn't pregnant already, right?
No.
I couldn't. You know, stories start blending together, and it'd be like she was pregnant, she lost the baby and her fallopian tubes and everything else. But that's another story.
No,
This wasn't that one.
No, she just lost. They gave her a hysterectomy, didn't they?
She had to have it.
Yeah,
because she didn't even know. She was so enraged, and this is the power of the body. She didn't even know that she was hurt until she just fell in his arms.
Yeah.
And
he came to the hospital.
He had to.
But why?
Why did he stay? I understand why he went, but why did he stay?
I think because he felt bad. I think he did have feelings for her, but I think he also was like, I'm going to do what I want to do. You know, she ain't had no boundaries. So he's like, oh, what's one more thing that I do to her? I'm already pushing my limit and she's accepting of it, which that's why we always say, have your boundaries together and know what you're going to do to maintain them in a healthy manner. Not in an unhealthy. Don't do what she did. Because you can't now have a boundary. Now you didn't try to kill people. That don't go together. But I think that's honestly what happened. I think whatever relationship he was having with old girl, it was just sex. It wasn't nothing else. He had his girl. He had his side piece. You always going to choose the girl because she the one with all the money. She the one taking care of you. She the one that you have built something with. You know, and I'm just piecing this together based off of what we getting out of the movie, you know, stuff like that. And they was kids. I mean, yeah, they adults, but they was kids. And so it's just,
I know I hated it, but this was the one time I said the sister was speaking facts, though.
Yes,
the oldest.
Yeah, this was the one time I was like, yeah, she's speaking facts, man. But in every other scene, I was like, sis,
you could have said that different.
Yeah,
like,
come out a little
because the
differently.
thing about it is, I feel like her sister was speaking facts most of the time, but the facts were lost in the
delivery.
Yeah.
And your message can get lost a lot in delivery. You know, tone, facial expressions, and body language will completely erase away anything that you're trying to say.
Yeah. Now, was this Bresha?
Brenda.
But I mean, the actress. Was this the one that Bresha played?
Oh,
I can't remember because whenever I think of these sisters, I only think about the adult versions, even though clearly all the actresses that played the younger versions were adults too.
No, this is still the younger versions.
Yeah, this is still the younger version.
Yeah.
So then it probably was her then.
They didn't turn into the older versions until after she got married.
Yeah, no, I get that. I was saying, was this the actress Bresha playing the oldest one? And I think it was.
So then, of course, she gets out of the hospital and he, you know, here he go. He's so sorry. And, you know, she take him back, of course, because they ended up getting married.
Yes.
And then, this scene was so slimy to me. When he did his little fake cry about not being able to, pay for his tuition.
Student loans. His tuition. Yes.
Yeah, for his last 2 semesters.
Yeah, that made me, I was like, that right there to me was manipulative on purpose.
Because he was like,
and he was going to have to.
I was like,
because you done made her not be able to bear children. And I'm not saying that in like she don't have to accept responsibility, but his actions was part of the catalyst.
You can still influence someone's choices.
And I was like, oh, he gonna have to come hard in the paint to get this money. And he did. And she gave it.
Yep.
Man. Oh, I just was like, ugh, I feel gross.
And so one of the things that I was saying, if there was ever a better time, a good time for her to have left, was when she got out of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And
she had many opportunities.
She did. But see, I think this would have been because like you got a reason to leave. He cheated. You caught him with your own 2 eyes. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
That was a definite red flag. Mm-hmm. Which was what her sister was trying to tell her.
But it's the level of pick me within her.
It was strong.
Yes.
Because I mean, like we've talked about in past sessions, again, you can see this in celebrity relationships, especially like rapper entertainment relationships and things of that nature. Like women will stay and stay because they want to be chosen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what you looking for is what your mom and daddy should have instilled into you, not this man.
That is, if that's not true, I don't know what is.
And she was there. We also talked about being with somebody because of potential. You know, she was caught up in that too. You know, he talked a good game. You know, some people have the gift of gab, and he did, at least with her. Let me say that. He may not have had
everybody.
it with well, true. So he had the gift of gab. So she also stayed with him because the potential.
And he wasn't the dreamer potential that we've talked about in previous sessions. He was the actual potential that was actually putting action toward what he was trying to do.
Yeah, it just wasn't resulting in what he wanted.
Not fast
at the time.
Yeah,
shoot, not fast at all.
Like this was a slow cooker.
Yeah, super slow cooker. But of course, you know, he said he had to lock that down. And so he could continue to get what he wanted. It would continue to fund his dream, and he would have his cake and eat it too.
And it was so sad that she, like, I understand her sisters did not support her, or at least the older sister. The younger sister, I don't know why she didn't have a mind of her own, but I know why. The older sister voiced her dislike. But it was so sad that they, like, y'all the only family she has.
Yeah.
And y'all don't want to support her. And I get you want to set your boundaries, but that was still your sister's choice.
Yeah, but the reality is they didn't want the house. They didn't. So all the money that this girl got is hers. So either you going to show up and be supportive and be there like you need to be, or you leave her to the wolves, which is what y'all did. So don't try to come back now that she all gnawed on.
That's true.
Yeah, can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I just feel like the relationship with her sisters was completely unhealthy.
It very much so was. I mean, the youngest, of those two, I think she was just there. You know, she probably was just the peacemaker, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think really, if the elder sister had really been a more supportive sister, I think a lot of this stuff probably would have went different.
I agree.
A lot of it. Because she pushed her in a lot of areas.
Yeah, if she would have been patient and listened to her sister, if Brenda had listened to Melinda, I agree. I think a lot of things would have gone differently, but her sister just did not have any patience to understand. Like, she listened to respond. She never listened to understand.
She told us, I run this.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Did she even listen?
No.
She just wanted her point to be made, and it's my way or the highway.
Yeah. And unfortunately, she need to know you're not her mama.
Yeah.
And you did not take mama place when she passed away.
No. You didn't show up. You did
Right.
not show up and show out.
That's true.
You underperformed.
Completely.
Yeah. So she gets married. And unfortunately, nobody shows up to the wedding.
Except for the friend, the roommate.
Yeah, except for her. And she was like her ride or die road dog
Cheerleader.
to the end.
Who was going to be friends with her? If we weren't friends in grade school, she wasn't getting no new friends. Because she was mean.
She was.
She
definitely was.
she
'Cause she was
obviously-
mean to her.
Yeah, she obviously has some good heart somewhere in her, but she was such a bitter woman.
Yeah, she was rough around the edges.
And that came before him.
So again, so we have the time lapse of them, getting married, and the money is slowly depleting because he is working on his invention.
They show the calculator just decreasing.
The amount of money she had at that age.
Yeah. And it took some years for them to get through it, but they did, because she just kept seeing his potential. And
he always needed something from her perspective.
But she didn't say no. And that's really the problem, because it's okay for him to continue to dream, because that if she would have said no, that would have also allowed him to be a man that worked to get his dream and not just dreamed and operated, if that makes sense. Like he wasn't bringing in nothing.
Right.
Like nothing.
And so that, because when she was walking down the aisle, she was, had the little questions in her head. She had several questions in her head that were unanswered. So I was like, why are you marrying him? I mean, granted, we know why, but I'm just saying, like, this is, if you ever watch this movie and you hear her say, like, I had several questions and no family while I was walking down the aisle. If you have those questions, that may be a red flag for you to not marry this person. Even if you decide to marry them on down the line, right now is not the time to marry that person, because you still have unanswered questions.
Yeah.
You still feel insecure about this marriage.
Absolutely. And the thing is that over time, this type of situation that they were involved in, your ability to see him as a man will decline to the point of almost zero.
Yeah, because it became, she was talking to him crazy. She was very emasculating. She didn't respect him.
And we will transition over into, you will see him as a child.
Yeah.
And we've said this before, mothers do not want to sleep with their sons.
Disgusting.
So once your mind has shifted over to, he's not my partner, he is now my dependent. It is hard to feel attracted to this person. It is hard to feel empathy for this person, because I now see you as a burden on my life. Yeah. Now, this is, of course, since we're not talking about your real biological child, this is a grown individual that has the ability to take care of themselves. And as long as they're able-bodied, they have skill sets that would allow them to be independent and autonomous. So a biological child is in a different kind of category. That sense of burden is not there. I mean, some parents do, but for the most part, that's not there. But when you have an adult that clearly has the intellect, the physical capabilities, and in all intents and purposes, no reason why they cannot be doing something in addition to what they're doing, you will become resentful.
Yeah. It reminds me of what we've said before, when you have 40-year-old rappers. If you want to be a rapper, cool, be a rapper, because there are people who get discovered all the time or make it all the time. But are you also working? You can't just be no rapper at no whack nightclub at night and waiting on your big discovery. What are you doing during the day that's feeding your ability to be the dream rapper?
Because something got to compensate for that.
Yeah. And not your girl
working 3 jobs.
And coming up there with her little matching outfit on with you. No.
God, no.
Speaking of that, that was something I thought was very interesting, that she said that she believed that her working harder would make him love her more. And
love wasn't the problem, though.
Right.
Because he loved
her. Like we see this later, once he starts to deteriorate and stuff like that. Like he did love her, but he also was a man without his purpose achieved. He knew what his purpose was, but it wasn't achieved. And, clearly that could be because of some, glass ceilings and him being, a minority. And, there probably were several things, because the field that he was trying to enter into was white male dominated.
Yeah.
So there's that. And so there's a lot that kind of gets lost in the timelines. We don't get a full grip on it. We just kind of see it in passing.
Yeah.
And I also think he did love her, but he didn't know how to love her the way she needed to be loved. obviously at this time she didn't never say it, but at this time she needed the acts of service. Like, I need you to work.
Yeah.
You know,
she take some of the load off of my back.
Yeah. And so because he wasn't loving her the way she needed to be loved, her interpretation was that she wasn't doing enough to make him love her.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I would have imagined was very frustrating is not necessarily him trying to achieve his dream, but you continue to only try to achieve that dream one way. You're only sending it to Prescott. Like, at least that's the way they have it written in the movie. Now, if he was sending it to other people, they didn't specify that. But you're only trying to achieve this dream one way.
Yeah.
And after 18, 20 years, you know, again, it did work out for him in the end. But at some point, it's like, okay, so why are you only so dogmatic and focused on this one way to achieve this goal when there are, I'm assuming, lots of other venture capitalists that would have been interested in technology, especially if they could get in on the ground floor of something. But why them? And
they knew you well.
And you know,
as stalking him.
Okay, as his spouse, that would have been something that would have been very irritating and frustrating for me, and would have been one of my points of discussion. Like, okay, you're trying to pursue this dream, but why do you keep only going to them? You know, why are we not shopping this around to other people? What is it about them? What type of validation are you trying to seek from this particular firm?
Yeah.
So it was just my thought.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
The other thing I was thinking is low self-esteem combined with anger and being in love with, at the time, what seems like a Peter Pan. You know, that'll just kill a woman internally. And it almost did. Well, I mean, it did, but we'll get to that later. So he graduates from college.
Oh, and she thought she was about to be living it up.
She was ready.
Boy, get off the stage. Let's go.
She said he had 2 or 3 job interviews lined up and none of them panned out. She then learns he's a felon.
I'm like, so we ain't have no discussion about past.
Nothing.
No discussions.
No. And he should have known something. And mind you, it probably was really not something that he needed to be a felon for, but that's not the point. The point is he's a felon according to whatever state y'all were in.
Yeah.
And I was like, you mad at the fact that he didn't tell you? And granted, that's not really a question that you really asked, but like, I just feel like y'all didn't have no conversations.
No deep dives.
No. Because obviously y'all had been together at this point 18 years. Married. Because she said they had no excitement in their lives, 18 years of marriage.
But when he graduated from college,
it was before then.
Okay.
Yeah, that was probably a few years later.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it was. Now they had been in some years at that point, yes, but and even then, by some years,
you still should. That's something you talk about in the first year, because I need to know what I'm getting myself into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But she did let her emotions run away with her when she thought that they was going to be living it up. He was going to get him a good job and. You know, our life was going to be starting, and unfortunately, what the subsequent thing was, he's now asking you to mortgage your mother's home because
after he graduated, that's when they turned to Taraji and the older adults.
Lyriq.
Yeah.
And she looked like that first scene of showing Taraji P. Henson, she looked tired.
Yeah.
Like, it was all in her eyes.
Yeah.
Method actor.
She be boy, she was so good. But yeah, you could definitely tell that she was exhausted. And what I was really I feel like disgusted is a very strong word, but when he smiled when he asked for her to when they were signing away at the mortgage, at the mortgage company, getting the second mortgage.
Because he's out of touch.
And he was smiling. And I'm like, you have literally no idea what is going on with your wife right here.
Because you're not even looking at her face.
No.
You're so focused on, I'm going to get my, okay, I'm going to get my, I'm
the
going to get
next thing that I need for this invention.
Yeah. And I can't knock him for his excitement, because it's, you know, he, like I said, he knows what his purpose is, but I think also you have chosen to be a husband, and part of that is to look out for your partner, and you're oblivious. Yeah, she probably is holding it together because she's not telling the truth at all about what she feels about the way that you're handling stuff, but there's, in this sense, it's like he kept losing common sense because it was like, you don't think that this is odd that like you're not doing it. I don't care if you got to go work at McDonald's because they are hiring smiles daily. Okay. So you better go do some burger flipping, some fry dropping, something to help with whatever is going on.
Yeah.
Keep your dream, but help too.
Right. Because your dream ain't going nowhere. It's right there at the house.
Right. And there was not a negotiation. So this kind of goes back to when this is a throwback to a previous session on negotiation versus compromise. They did not negotiate the terms for his dream. You know, if you were going to work part-time and then work on your invention part-time, or if you're going to work seasonally and then throughout the year, then you will focus on, you know, the invention, or, you know, they did not come up with any type of plan. They just lived life.
Yeah. One of the things that I liked when he said, you know, I want to give you everything that I said I would give you. And she said, did you ever ask me what I wanted? I thought that was such finally a good question. And then she answered it and said, I just need you to work consistently. Like,
and he's so basic.
I know. Like, that's the only thing. That's what we were talking about. Like, if you're only bringing money in the house, that's not a sustainable relationship. But in this sense, that's all she needed him to do.
But I think it was also because he really probably was still providing all the other things that she needed, but at this point she was shut down.
So they had stopped having sex and they had stopped having fun.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that also is due to him not working though. But I think he actually probably was still providing those things, but she ain't gonna want him because now she is now realizing, okay, no, I actually need this to be with all of that stuff too. The realization of like the full scope of what she needed versus, okay, he is taking care of my emotional needs, because she was love starved. Now that she's filled up on that, she's like, oh, but other things are more important too, or are equally important.
Yeah.
So then he goes back to Prescott again, but just so happens this time the person that's normally in the position that he's been submitting his stuff to is different. It's now, guess who? Diana. And who is Diana, you want to know? You remember the young lady a little while ago we were talking about that he was having illicit tantric sex with in the RV?
Window hand.
This is her. This is her. And the first thing I was like, man, he has a good way of making women feel sorry for him.
He does. I thought the same thing.
I think she was already going to feel sorry for him because the last person had left that, that's you. This man comes every year and submits blah, 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 blah.
Every year, every month.
Every month. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like submits it all the time. So she already knew. She just didn't realize it was him.
And when the way she reacted initially, I was like, what did he think was going to happen?
I know. Like, did you think you were just a shoe-in?
Because you happened to sleep with her 20 years ago?
And she remember how much craziness was going on.
Right. Because she sure asked whatever happened to her.
I married her.
Yeah. But I was like, see, this man, he's so focused on his own dream that he is, again, he's losing, I agree with you, he's losing common sense in some ways that he can't, like, you ran up on somebody and you tried to basically guilt them into supporting this thing for you. But
it's an obsession now.
Yes. Yeah. It ended up panning out for him.
Yeah.
But you're not going to see this. You only can see from the point that you're at in time. Yeah. I can't see the future. So at the moment I'm at, I don't know that you're going to get on and you going to make it. All I see is the present and the past. Yeah. I see that right now I'm struggling. Right now I'm tired and exhausted. And I see that I have felt this way for the last X number of years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I can only operate from the box that I got with me right now. And she was just broken. I mean, that's what she was. She was broken. Then the sisters learn that she has mortgaged the home. Mm-hmm. And then they just walked it in.
Girl, I said, first of all, why y'all got the same locks?
Well, they also learned because the bank was calling.
Oh yeah, somebody friend worked there or something.
Yeah, they had gotten behind on the payments.
Yeah.
The one friend, I don't know what her name is. Melinda's friend.
No, she works with her though, don't she?
Oh, did they work at a bank?
No, they worked. I don't know where they worked, but it was on the top floor or something. But I thought
it was
a different
somebody's
person.
friend who did.
I thought it was one of their friends.
I thought it was too, but they never showed any of their friends, so you could be right. I don't know.
But I was like, yeah, they just walked up in there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Still don't respect her or her husband.
I'm like, why y'all didn't get these locks changed when y'all moved and when they moved out
20 years ago?
Yes.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they just have sets of keys anyway. You know what I'm saying?
They
Because of the
wouldn't have
type of
no
relationship that they have, it's a very unequal
It's the type of
relationship.
relationship they thought they had because it was unhealthy as hell.
It was. Yes. So then I was like, this whole scenario here is just, there's so many scenes. I'm like, ugh. So the family proposes some plan to Melinda and Robert about being able to save the home, to get it out of foreclosure.
Yes.
Now, with this plan, Robert has to come work for them. He got to be on time. He can't miss nothing. Like, he got to be on his P's and Q's, dotting his I's and crossing his T's.
Yeah.
He agrees to do it reluctantly.
Yeah.
But then, as the family leaves, then basically emotionally manipulates his wife and says, I can't believe you didn't stand up for me.
No, he said, you know how I know you feel different about me? Because you didn't take up for me. I said, take up for what?
And that's what I was thinking. What was she going to take up for?
Well, I mean, she set the standard that she would always protect him. And unfortunately, that's not a realistic standard to set. I'm not protecting you from yourself, sir.
I'm not protecting
When it comes
you from
to
having
that,
a job.
you need to be realistic. You need to be providing, for our home.
Yeah.
We're all supposed to be in this together. We're all in this together. But the reality is, it's just me, and you get to live out your dream. Like, when did he ever ask her what her dream was?
Yeah.
Obviously, she's in a good job, but that's not the point. She probably had other things that she wanted to do, things that she wanted to see, travel, all of those things. And she really wasn't able to do any of that.
And could have had she kept her mama's money.
Yeah, but we digress. And the thing that I said here, naturally things are going to start to drift apart even more. Like, your decline is going to become even faster now, because now he believes that he's been, forced into doing something that he doesn't want to do.
Which he has, but you need to, sir. Somewhere.
Yeah. So because now he feels some kind of way, he's going to start pulling away from her.
Because he started sleeping on the couch.
Which that then opens the door for other things to slide on in. And then Diana has been watching the videos,
smiling,
falling all in love with the 20-year-old version of him, because that's what I was thinking
in the video.
She started falling in love with the videos of the boy that was
dreamer,
the boy that was in the videos, and then the dreamer of the man. Now, again, it just so happened to be what he had was brilliant.
Yeah.
But the way he talks about it, the way he comes at it, you can see he can seem a little fanatical.
Yeah.
And people, it's going to be hard for some people to get past that, especially people that have a lot of money.
Yeah, but also you realize that they never looked at them.
That too.
They were just sitting there. So that.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, that was the sad part. I'm like, y'all been sitting on a lot of money
for a long time,
decades. Y'all could have been there, made this deal, and could have got over on him, really,
back
because he
then
would have been young. Now he like, I got a lot to lose.
Right.
Oh, because I have
Wasted my whole life.
And I put my family in jeopardy. Like,
Yeah.
even though it was very selfish what he did realize that I know doing this is going to hopefully get me where I need to be so that it will have made sense. But I am putting my family I put my family at risk. But, you know, you feel a couple of different ways about it. I was like, there's so many different ways he could have gone about getting this meeting with Prescott. And he chose the one that was going to be the most difficult. He did not choose the path of least resistance.
He had so many different options he could have chose.
Yeah. What I will say, I am proud that he, you know, maintained his vows.
Oh yeah, me too.
Because when I first saw this movie, I thought this was about to go a totally different way. Like I really thought it was going to be him cheating and leaving her for the other one, but it really wasn't. He really was on the up and up for once. He was trying to turn over a new leaf. That job thing, still he didn't get that together, but you know, he was trying to be as respectful to his relationship as possible.
Yeah.
He should have been honest about it, but you know.
Yeah, and I was thinking about Diane. I was like, you didn't know that he had your wallets? You didn't realize that your wallet was gone? And
Yeah, like I didn't understand it. And the first thing you do is accuse the man of stealing it. But then get yourself together and go in here and do this presentation.
Yeah, like I was like, I'm confused.
Like,
how did this go this way?
Yeah.
All he did was say, no, you left it. Oh, okay. Well, come on, let's get you. Like, what? No, I'd have been like, no.
That's something they should have just cut out.
Yeah.
It really didn't add nothing to the movie.
It didn't.
It just shows that you know that he's still from the wrong side of the track. That ain't went nowhere.
And the other thing I was thinking about this whole kind of scene where he's going to do his pitch and all that, you know, at what point do the ends justify the means? You know, how do you come back from the wake of what has taken place because of this choice? You know, is it even possible to come back from, you know, ultimately we saw how things played out for them, but like if this was in a real world setting, would it have played out the way that it did?
It's a possibility.
You know,
I think, one thing we forgot to say is that he took the job, and he got the call at the same time. So he had to choose between going to the job he had agreed to go to with his in-laws or going to the meeting with Prescott. And obviously he chose Prescott without telling anybody, because they could have probably helped him.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like if you would, because the brother-in-laws were calling him.
The brother-in-laws would have helped him. Now
Yeah.
them sisters, no.
Right.
But the brother-in-laws.
And they
would've.
were calling him. He could have answered and said, hey,
I finally.
Can y'all go to I'm gonna go to the stop. Can y'all go to the house and pick up my little box thing and bring it to me and meet me at Prescott? Even if you had to go with your polo and your khakis on, that would have just had to suffice.
Or you could have easily told Diana, like, look, I know you want me to come to this meeting right now, but I am in an emergency situation. I am having I have something that I have to attend to. Like it is a family emergency and I cannot come up there right now, but I can be there at 1.
Such and such time. Yeah.
You know, that if they really want to meet with you, then they will understand that a business person understands that they can't just call you right now and you need to be here right now.
Right.
I'm only going to give you 30 minutes to come have this meeting with me. Like,
because if
what?
you live in Dallas, it's going to take me 30 minutes just to get
so that's
to the light.
Especially with the way they, you know, hyped up his invention.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, nah, they would have waited, or they would have been like more apt to
schedule it.
I get they were like, he's a busy man, he's just in for blah blah. Okay, but he run a corporation. If he want to make more money, he know that he got to spend money to make money. Come on now.
Yeah. Or they would have scheduled a meeting.
That part,
I mean, that would have been the more professional
right.
thing
but
to do.
that also to me shows the amount of hoops that people of color end up jumping through just to get something done.
Yeah. You almost got to drive around with a suit in your car.
But somehow also within this time, the sisters go tell Melinda that Robert is cheating on her
because they found the wallet.
Because the brother, was it Brenda or the brothers?
Brenda found the wallet.
Okay, so Brenda found the wallet.
She went in the truck to get the mileage.
Yeah, so she found it. And of course, you know, crazy, but is going to remember that name. And all the trauma that came along with it. Now she just sitting and fuming.
Yeah. So then Robert gets to the house to pick up his invention, which is about to be thrown in the trash. Well, it's in the trash. It's about to be put on the dumpster truck. But he gets there in just the nick of time as they're picking it up.
And gets his suit.
Gets ready.
I would have been so mad if that little box thing would have ended up on that truck, because that was $375,000, $986.
Blah, 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 blah,
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
we're not throwing that away. We're going to paint that in some gold spray paint or something.
this getting ready to be some decoration.
And I was like, sir, how do you think this was going to go over? You thought that you were simply just going to say, I finally got the pitch, and all was going to melt away and everyone was going to be okay with that?
And that is the problem with not informing your partner with all stages of what is going on. Hey, so I went up to Prescott like I always do, and what's her name was there. She said she looked at the videos. Like, there should have been a conversation going on. Now, she would have been pissed off the whole time, but at least you would have been effectively communicating, and she wouldn't have got blindsided with her sisters who don't like you anyway telling her something about her husband.
And she would not have got into that state of, I don't want to say she was enraged yet, because I mean, she was fighting on him, but I think she was just angry. And
I think
regular angry.
Yeah.
I think this was betrayed.
Yeah.
Because she was talking about, again, you chose her.
Yeah. So I think it wasn't that part where she go off the rails yet.
Yeah, no.
But if he would have done like Dr. Wall was just saying, talking to her from the beginning of like when they had coffee, hey, I met her at the Prescott because I went up there like I usually do. We ended up having coffee because I wanted to talk to her about looking at the invention, and voila.
Yep.
So he does the pitch, gets an offer, $800,000,
which is a low number, because they
consider-
will have all rights and don't want him working on the project after it's given to him.
Yeah. Now, I was like, hey, mad respect for turning it down.
Yeah, I respect that too. I was like, good for you.
Because that's hard. Because you know
what you're up against.
You know when you go home, what I just did. Like, I shattered my family. But I know that what I've got here is worth more than what you're trying to tell me. And that's a hard pill to swallow, that I finally, for 20 years, been trying to get this firm to acknowledge me. They did, and then they lowballed me.
Man, it took guts.
Disrespectfully.
Yeah.
Mad. Disrespectfully.
So then he get back to the house and he trying to explain. But it's like, do you realize how hurt your spouse is? She thinks that you cheated on her. She now knows that you've cost the family this home. She's not going to be in any type of emotional headspace.
No. And you cheated on her with the same person.
Right.
You know, she also, like I was saying earlier, she's remembering the fact that she can't have kids, and it's because of the infidelity that you had with this woman who helped you, even though you did not cheat this time, you did back then.
So she don't know you ain't cheating.
Yeah,
no,
the optics
she just going
of it.
Going in about how she feels about it, and she being super calm for her.
That's scary.
No, that's good for her.
I know it is, but it's still scary.
The last time she got crazy.
And then on top of that, when you put some salt on it and said, I turned down $800,000.
Like, what would you expect? This was the Peter Pan in him coming out. You know, this was the, it's optimism. It's the boyishness. It's the, it's going to work. I swear it's going to work. It's going to work.
And it may have.
And it did.
And you probably shouldn't have told her the amount, though.
Yeah.
You should have just been like, it was a super low number.
Yeah.
You shouldn't even said the number. You should have been like, it was like 200,000.
I would have been like $50.
I don't even
But
know
you
if I
get
would
what
have
I'm
said
saying.
an amount.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying. If he had to, and then she would have been like, oh yeah, that don't make no type of sense. At least there,
it would have been less than whatever it
I
cost
owed
her.
Like it wouldn't have helped, babe. I swear.
Yeah.
But you know, she told him like, nah, that's it. I'm done with you.
yeah,
Like,
get you and get out.
I can't take no more. That's it. And you know, he's steady trying to, you know, plead.
Girl, when she set up and said, you know, I can be a motherfucking devil. I was like, you better tell him who he married to.
The way
Yes.
she was smoking them cigarettes, I was like,
Sir, it's
don't
done.
do it.
It's coming. You bet. You ain't got but 2.5 seconds, sir.
Yeah.
And he
It's
looked
done.
like, I do know. That fear in his eyeballs.
Yeah.
I was like, look, Lyriq, I know y'all acting, but run. Taraji,
Yeah, she's
I don't know if
method.
she done went somewhere else.
Yeah, she's method acting at this point. It's so much going on in the world right now, and we could all use some extra support. At Balance Beacon, we offer counseling services for individuals, couples, families, and groups. If you're in Texas, give us a call at 214-396-6503 or visit our website at www.balancebeacon.com for more information.
Ladies, are you looking for a new way to get your body right and your body tight? Well, let me give you the scoop on She. She Dance Studios is a women's only sensual fitness program geared towards unleashing that inner goddess. We're currently offering classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. inside Active Family Wellness located at 4120 North Collins Street, Suite 200, Arlington, Texas 76005. For more information, DM us on Instagram or Facebook at She Dance Studios.
So, of course, they lose their mother's house. She has to move back in with her sisters. And this is now the decline. This is where she starts to... So, my thought here was...
Was she already? Did she lose the house and have to move back in
Yeah, they foreclosed.
fully?
Mhm.
Okay, because my
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah, no, they lost the house because she was saying he didn't even check on her. He didn't come see how she was doing.
He homeless.
He's scared.
But you gotta think, we
Yeah.
know he literally is in a homeless shelter.
Right.
How was he gonna get there?
That's true.
Everything he has, you bought for him.
Yep.
He don't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, but you make do when you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So I get where what she's saying. I also understand what y'all are saying. But for her, she was like, "Dude, you could have walked here. Like, you didn't come check on me. There's, I'm assuming he's had a cell phone. He got stolen at the, homeless shelter. But, you had no reason to not continue to fight for me.
But she also divorced him.
Not
Not
at
yet.
this point.
Not yet.
Okay.
They were getting ready to. So this also made me kind of, this next set of scenes here made me think of something that you said when I was talking to you about one of my clients. And you were talking about for some addicts that they don't start to do better until people leave them. And I got this sense from him as well. Like unfortunately, he was not able to really start excelling until that relationship was gone. I won't say that he excelled because of it, but
Yeah, she was an enabler. And what is the problem with enablers? They have no boundaries.
They're the trampoline they can be bounced back on.
yeah. So then they do divorce, and she basically was like, what she said she was gonna give him. I
She
can't
was
even
so
remember.
hateful.
Yeah. He was like, yeah, I don't want nothing. And he just signed the paper. Well, he tried to plead one more time.
Mm-hmm.
He really
did.
wanted to stay married to her because we can tell he really did love her.
Mm-hmm.
But she was done.
And
that's why when you say you done, you really need to mean it, because ain't no coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. Because they were in mediation. And one of the things I wrote for while they were in mediation, I was like, how far does I'm sorry go?
Why was her sisters there?
Oh,
I was like, that was so tacky.
and that was part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because you could see that she was like, I do miss him. My thing is, y'all could have been pulled together. Y'all was already pulled together. Or, for the majority of the marriage, y'all was poured together. So,
Yep.
Yeah. And the other thing that I wrote there was her not looking at him, the motivation he needed to become a man versus being an adult male. Because he went and started working. He was washing dishes, but he started working. He was doing little things to, transition out of being taken care of.
I mean, yes and no, because it was within him the whole time. That's the reality. But I do think men tend to date women who remind them of their mothers.
I literally said this to a client yesterday.
And do the things that their mothers will do. And we as women are taught to be never-ending nurturers without any concept of self. And that creates a very toxic environment.
It does, because it doesn't allow either person to be a woman or a man. It allows us to be a nurturer and a taker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then did Diana call him or he called her? I can't remember.
I think he had been calling, but he had to call on the
I think
shelter's
she had been calling.
spot. And so he finally got the shelter's number to her, and then she called him back when he was there. Because, they not going to tell you.
But then he called her at the kitchen.
Yeah, but I'm saying called him when he was actually there. They gave the message to him.
Oh, gotcha.
That sort of
Okay.
thing. And then he called her back.
Okay, I gotcha.
And I was like, oh, here she go. Did she put you out? I was like, wait, hold on.
She couldn't wait.
And that's what I said. Here go another
Pick me.
yes. I said,
She was a
pick me
nice
number
pick me.
2. She was just pick me dressed up nice. That's all that was, with a little bit of money.
She didn't have as much desperation as the other.
Right. Because I was like, hold on. So you just going to take this man in? You going to run his bath water?
And he was naked.
He was.
With that dark skin.
You have one of these, okay?
I know.
Both of you do.
Yes.
That dark skin, honey.
Chocolate dipped. Like a deli bar from Dairy Queen.
Oh, Lord.
Because they be having that smooth skin.
Beautiful
No
scene.
Yes. Because he had a little booty cheek in there.
I mean, y'all can tell we like chocolate, man.
And boy, I was like, oh.
But I respect her gangster. I do like the way she, I like her skills because she doted on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't about her. Although, eventually it became about her, but I can appreciate her gangster.
I was trying to figure out, why was she crying? When he got in the tub and she was sitting on the floor.
She was crying?
She started crying.
I didn't see that.
I missed all of that. Maybe she was sweating hard.
No, them tears were coming. Well,
was
okay,
they
she was
talking
sweating out
about?
her eye. She was saying something about him getting a divorce, and I can't remember. She said needing more or better or something. I can't remember.
Maybe she was just being empathetic to the stuff that he had been through. Because, I mean, shoot, outside of Joker, you done been through a lot.
Yeah, That's true.
The thing that I said, what made her different was that she had the ability to access the life he wanted.
Yeah.
Unlike Melinda didn't.
And she didn't have any way to.
Mm-hmm.
She probably could have got him the life he wanted, even though clearly he needed to get it himself. But she did not have the wherewithal.
Yeah, she didn't have the access.
Yeah, she probably could have eventually made the connections and things like that because she had good money.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the other girl worked for the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Diana had the ability to give him direct link to what he had been seeking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just so happened that they had a previous kind of like engaging, you know, kind of rendezvous of sorts.
Because all it was a, hey, I think y'all should take a look at this dude's inventions because they look promising.
Yeah. So then, of course, he gets his new offer. 150 mil, right?
Oh, I thought it was 75 mil.
Either way.
Oh,
it was something.
It was millions.
Multi.
Yes. Yes, it had some zeros. And he comes, of course, now he Dapper Dan now. He dressed up looking, you know, nice and clean.
And he was very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
He really was. I appreciated like how he showed up for his wife's family who treated him like crap to save the home. And I appreciate how he showed up to give her everything he took from her and then some. Now the time and the ovaries and stuff she can't get back, but you know.
Yeah, I was wondering here because, you know, then of course they go to court about this later, but you know, he gave her a check for $10 million, I believe it was,
which is a lot.
So the 75 mil may have just been for certain things. Maybe he got another check because I think the 75 mil was for he still was able to own the IP and everything and for the trademark, copyrights and patent. So maybe they gave him an additional something, but I
think it was the 75 mil, but I just think the new deal allowed him to still own
keep
his
everything.
stuff.
Okay.
See, and I was thinking it was 150 because in court, the attorney for Melinda said that he was.
Oh, maybe that was
that he was valued.
What is that called?
He was valued at 100. That whatever he got was valued at 150 mil.
Oh, so he got to continue doing stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever his contract was, it wasn't just for a one-time invention, I think.
Yeah, he had ongoing participation in the.
So maybe he got several checks. So I know one of them said 75 mil.
Yeah.
But he did give her a check for 10 mil.
He gave her a check for 10 mil.
That's more than she should have technically got.
See, and I
financially, I'm saying,
and I felt the other way.
And I'm not saying like if we're talking about just invention wise, that's what I'm saying, invention wise, because she couldn't have, because that we already talked about her intellect was just not there. Now, if we talking about pain and suffering,
yeah, and that was the thing, you know. What I wrote in my notes was giving her, you know, buying the family home, giving her the check. Was it honorable, or was it honorable with a splash of?
I honestly feel like it was honorable, based off of how he was in the situation. Because if y'all have ever seen this particular actor, he can play a very vindictive person easily, and I didn't get any sense of that. You know, I think because he felt like he had fought so hard to keep his marriage together, like when they were divorcing, he truly thought that she didn't want nothing to do with him, so he had already decided to move on. Because you gotta think this is probably a while later, you know, when money started coming in and life has changed and stuff like that. And so she wasn't even expecting to see him. In fact, she was crazy acting when she saw him.
I believe it was honorable. I'm torn with, like, if it was not financially, but if it was enough. And now, granted, she was the one who went forward with ending it, so I can't, you know, it had to be enough. But I didn't pay attention to what the time is kind of off because they don't say the time. And I think I was torn with like, dude, like you already moving on. And with the woman that you cheated on her with the first time.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that I can say about a lot of Tyler Perry's films. He really needs to work on giving a timeline because obviously we know how business work and everything is not like instantaneous. Plus, he was in the homeless shelter for a while before they found him, and then he was there with her. Then the thing came in, and you know what I'm saying. So we know there's some time in between.
This ain't like 2 weeks.
No,
Right,
and then
but it
even
felt
before,
like it.
and then even before that, the whole we already know that's at least 3 months.
Yeah.
The divorce proceedings.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's been some time in between
Some of these things.
the split and then him giving her the $10 million. Now, like I said, if we talking about everything this woman done been through, no, it's not sufficient amount. But if we're only talking about invention wise, it was more than enough.
Yeah. I do think he was sincere in what he gave her.
Yeah.
You know.
But he just oblivious.
He was.
Yeah.
Poor man. Just ain't got now piece of sense no more.
Because now she thinking you trying to get that old thing back. That's what she thinking.
Because she shouldn't have been listening to Brenda.
So then she show up at your place.
Oh.
Which I was like, how did you find where he lived? Like, how did you?
She already unraveling.
True.
I think that when that was the beginning of when she started unraveling this
Fast.
Because really what probably happened, she was already gone. And then she was like, oh, I can have everything I want. No thought process of, let me call him and talk to him first. No, none of that. And so she's hopping into that euphoric feeling of all of that, which is an extreme
fantasy.
Emotion. And that's what she dabbles in, extremes.
Yeah.
And so she just, girl, I'm sorry. Old boy that did me wrong, he coming in town. I'm not going to his penthouse and putting on my good clothes.
My good negligees.
my little trench.
I'm not.
My little trench and tied
She
up
did
in the bow.
that
She,
boomerang.
now, Taraji can rock some lingerie. I said, ma'am, you going to stop doing us like this.
Okay. With this flat stomach.
I know. The dream of having a flat stomach.
Oh, man. But little did she know.
Oh, another flat stomach was in there too.
Okay. And when she came out of there, I was like, see, this was what made me, I don't know if I say dislike, but Diana. Like, there was no reason for you to do her like that. You did not need to speak to her like that. And then the way she stuck her hand out to like shake her hand. First of all, nobody shakes hands like that.
And nobody shakes with their left hand. And I say that because I'm left-handed. We shake with our right. Well, at least in the United States, we shake with our right.
And I was like, and you, I mean, you're with this man, unless y'all not talking. You should.
That rock was talking.
But my thing is, you should know what happened to her, the life that she ended up living. Like, first of all, he cheated on her with you. Then he took her because of the lack of boundaries between the two of them and the lack of communication and all of these other things. She led a life of pain and suffering. Then he actually gets the thing that he promised her
and gave you everything that he promised Melinda. The penthouse, the money,
the
boat, the ring.
And like, then you throw it in her face. Like, I'm the better woman.
First of all, she should have remembered that trailer rocking. That's what she should have remembered, and should have been like, "Oh, I'll let y'all talk," and I would have went on back into the room.
And it made me feel sorry for the come up woman. You know, we hear a lot of that with athletes and like in the entertainment industry that, you know, there's always the come up woman.
Yeah,
and that's basically what she ended up becoming. I don't think he intended for her to become that, but she did end up becoming the come up woman, because now at the financial stratosphere he's at, Diana is a better fit for the financial place that he's in.
Yeah.
You know, visually, the way she speaks, the way she carries herself, the way she looks. You know, she is that package that goes with status. And unfortunately, his wife just was not going to fit into that world.
No, she'd be done kill somebody accidentally.
Because it reminds me of The Family That Prays, where
Ooh, that was bad.
you know, where the white guy and his wife, she told Sanaa, like, you think you he gonna bring you around his whatever she called them, like his work buddies or his you know, his parties or whatnot. Like, you really think he gonna bring you around? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
You don't fit in that world. And so I think that ended up becoming the same thing with Diana and Melinda. However, I was very sad that Diana, one, that you did not respect the work that she put in for you to live the life that you live in.
That's true. Because there is some gratitude that's owed to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't got to go out your way to give it to her.
Of course.
But you
I'm
could
not
at
saying
least,
you got to growl at her feet or nothing like that.
But I'm saying in the form of respect.
Right.
Yeah.
You could have shown that, because at the end of the day, you already got the prize. You don't need to bring her down anymore. She's already down. Now, she was still going to be crazy. You know, we just going to go and call it with us. She's still going to have her, you know, break mentally. She's still going to go into insanity and all of that because of the nature of several things that have led to this moment. But it could have like all panned out differently.
Absolutely. So then now she gonna sue them, Melinda. She sues Robert because she says that he owes her at least half of whatever it is that he got from Prescott.
If you'd have waited a couple of months, she could have said that. She could have, you know, had the Jeff Bezos effect.
She could have. Or Melinda Gates, girl, because she said,
and then she gave half of her money to HBCUs. I said, you better be out here.
She said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take that. Thank you. That's mine. But this gave me "you weren't shooting in the gym with me" vibes. You know, I've heard this being said in various spheres before on why does the woman get half because you weren't in the gym shooting with me. And it's like, yes, literally, if you want to say that is true. However, you do realize that if you have a family, if you have children, if you have a house, you have all of these other things, your spouse, based off this type of structure, is taking care of all of these things so that you can go shoot in the gym.
Well, in this situation, she did fund everything.
That's what I'm going to say. I was in the gym. I was in there with 2 jobs, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, this one was a little different. But I feel the same way because, well, obviously multiple people feel the same way. Hence the wives we just mentioned in real life who got the majority.
Like, she said, "Oh yeah, I was in the gym shooting with you.
Run me my check."
Yes. So I was thinking, did she deserve half? Probably not. But I did think that at least to account for the pain and suffering.
Yes.
I agree with you that the 10 mil was good for the invention itself. But the life that she led, the support that she gave you, like this woman literally took care of you.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah. She could at least she could have got $1 million a year.
And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking at least 25%.
I was getting ready to say she could have got some residuals. Some residual checks, you know, every year, just because, and it didn't have to, whatever the amount would have been, it would have been better than nothing.
Right.
But the reality is, let's just be honest, she shot herself in the foot, and her delivery of everything, her acting a fool, her not listening to counsel, like that is the reason why she probably really didn't get the money.
Yeah.
If she would have had it together, she could have presented a better case. She could have discussed all the different things. You know, she would have been able to talk about the pain and suffering. But no, she lashing out at the fiance and everything
and not
else.
Giving them
and
something
the judge.
and not giving them something to counter her offer, because she had all them comments on Diana's social
was already
media
spiraling.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah. And then, of course, her case is dismissed. Then she started acting a fool in the lobby in front of the elevator, putting them on live. After he just didn't he give them a protective order or something like that at that point as well?
Yeah.
And then you literally, after he just said that and hit the gavel, you literally go and violate what he just said.
Yes, because they got a protective order because she was pregnant.
I was just going to say that.
And because they asked at the last minute, you know, can we also go ahead and get X, Y, and Z because she's expecting. And that sent her to a whole other level because she can't have no babies.
And I can't even imagine the emotional roller coaster she was going through. Like, that is so harsh.
Yeah, it's because of you and this woman. Now, again, my reaction was way over the top and not justifiable. The feeling is okay. The actions weren't justifiable. But it is the influence of what you and her did is the reason that I can't produce children.
And now you throwing it in my face. Like, it's just so much thrown in her face. Like, just...
Yeah,
it's just,
I wish it would have been a little bit more behind doors type of stuff. And I'm saying that not like he can't be a man or whatever that means, but more so like, you know, she have a tendency to act irrational. Some things you don't need to be saying out loud,
or you need to take her out for some coffee.
No,
and have a conversation with her while she's calm.
Yeah.
Even if you needed to have like her sister there with y'all or something like that, not the oldest one.
I was about to say the quieter one.
Yeah, the quieter one, just so you can have a conversation. So she's not hearing this stuff for the first time in court.
Yeah, she was not handled gently.
No,
at all throughout this film. Like she
by anybody.
Yeah, by nobody. She was never handled gently.
Yeah.
Which, if I have to be my own emotional caretaker, then I'm going to protect myself by any means necessary.
And whatever you get is what you're going to get.
So then the family do the dumbest thing ever.
Oh, God.
And have Robert and Diana come to the house that she's living in. I was like, this is the dumbest.
The most unhealthy thing ever.
Yeah, because she might have been able to eventually not get over it, but not be reaching out to them. It's just like one situation after another is just amping her up.
Like right after court.
Right.
Yeah, they still got the clothes on.
Like the same day. So not only do I lose my case and it's dismissed, I've got a protective order against me now. And you then I find out that she's pregnant and you invite these people to the house.
And I got a protective order against them. What you doing?
I mean, she pulled off in a nice car though.
She did.
Like you had time to go get that though, didn't you?
I was just like, this is the dumbest.
And he's stupid too. Because at the end of the day, why would you want to do anything that her sister say?
Because they don't even like you.
They like you now.
Yeah.
Because it was true and they felt bad. That's really what it boiled down to. They realized that they had been casting too much judgment on this man, casting it in the wrong way. And if they had been a little bit more supportive, their sister probably wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah.
So we kind of messed this up here, guys. She didn't learn that she was pregnant here.
Oh, okay.
Because this is now when she starts plotting. She's really gone off the deep end. And she goes to the wedding store to pour the acid on her dress. Then they go back to court.
Yes. Got you.
Then they go back to court.
Yeah.
Then she finds out she's pregnant.
But don't Diana say it though?
Yes, because Diana's sitting. No, sorry guys. Because then Diana is sitting over there, and then when she says it, then she looks over. She looks back at him. And looks at her. Because this is now the opening scene in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah, because she had stalked her to get the information about the wedding dress. I remember now.
And this was when I was in my head, I was thinking, I can see where somebody might say borderline. Yeah. But I was also thinking, I was talking with Dr. Jones-Hines about this. I said, I was wondering, brief psychotic disorder, if there was some of that kind of floating around in there. Because she broke.
The way that I know borderline to be in childhood, adolescence, early adulthood, and into, you know, where she's at, it don't typically present like that, and it don't typically present like that in Black women.
Yeah.
That's why it was too many empty spaces for me to definitively say borderline.
Yeah, I could see how if you really wanted to shoehorn it in there, you could make the case just from the explosive, like that you know, I hate you, don't leave me kind of thing. So I could see the explosiveness and possibly and that need for that codependent piece. So I was like, if you really wanted to make the case, you probably could, but it also didn't quite fit for me as well. And
when we're saying it's not fitting for us, it's not that it has to be textbook, but it does have to make sense.
Yeah, she had a lot of other stuff popping up.
Yeah,
I mean,
she has some PTSD.
Yeah, she is a villain that people can relate to and like. So it
because some probably looked at this movie and said, I can see why she reacted like that.
Yeah,
and we can too, but the reactions are so strong. It's like, that's the only thing that pulled me back. Cause like the car and the RV, really,
but
like I understand why you angry, but
when I first watched this movie, I watched this with a group of my homegirls that's in Austin, Texas, and we got into some arguments over this movie. And then I had to finally just be like, y'all, psychologically, do y'all really think that these behaviors are justified? Psychologically. And if you say yes, then I'm about to take you to the hospital.
Yeah.
Because this is not appropriate.
No,
I said, I'm not saying that this man gets off scot-free, because he don't. There's a lot left to be desired of this dude, but there also has to come a point when you are taking ownership of your own life. People ain't doing stuff to you at a certain age. She willingly walked into the oblivion with him.
Yeah,
she did,
and they were just moseying through until she couldn't take no more and she broke.
Yeah.
And that's not good. You cannot put more faith in somebody else than you have in your own self.
That's why we've been talking a lot about relationships and how to choose partners of any kind, friendships, romantic. That's why we talk to you all about that so much, because this is an area that's very sensitive, and we constantly make unhealthy choices when it comes to relationships.
Yeah. And then when you choose them, and if they start acting a certain way that no longer serves you, you need to be willing to talk about it. You don't take it.
Right. And you don't have to necessarily walk away. You talk about it so that you don't have to walk away
or kill people. You know, that's not appropriate.
That's too.
So then when I was thinking about potential diagnoses for her, now this is one that would typically be, I do definitely think she had PTSD.
Yeah.
Because again, we have little T traumas and big T traumas. Now, did she have PTSD in the traditional sense of what that word, maybe like DSM version of what PTSD is? Maybe not, because they did not identify a specific trauma.
It would be emotional though,
right?
The
childhood.
The car thing could have been the PTSD too, because she
self-inflicted.
Yeah. Yes. Now this diagnosis is generally made during childhood, so you're not generally going to seem to get an adult that's diagnosed with this. Now you could, but for the most part, it falls in what's called neurodevelopmental disorders. So the thing I was thinking was disruptive mood dysregulation disorder.
I knew it was going down. I knew it.
Yeah.
So this is what most people think about bipolar.
Lord, he just bipolar. No, he's not.
Yes. And so this is when you have outbursts, tantrums. They have to go on for a certain period of time. This can be verbal. They can be behavioral. They have to happen, frequently. You are irritable. You have an angry mood pretty much all the time. It's just like you're just a walking, breathing ball of irritability that occasionally goes off the rails. So if I had to kind of pick a diagnosis, then that would have been one that I was thinking about. So, yeah. So like I was saying, I was thinking that this probably would have been something in childhood had this particular diagnosis existed when she was a child, because this is a fairly new one for people that are aware of mental health diagnoses specifically. That this probably would have been what she would have been diagnosed with as a child.
Or the old school RAD, reactive attachment.
That too. She does have a little bit of that in there.
Poor child.
Yeah.
And she turned into a straight up psychopath.
Would you say disinhibited type?
Disinhibited type. I think.
I mean, I could definitely see it because of the way she normally presents. You know what I'm saying? Like, now the reaction is crazy. Insanity. But I can see like her normal function, and it's not until
Something happened. Yeah. And so I guess my thing was, so just all of you out there, we are just hypothetical because we definitely would have to have way more information to be able to truly diagnose her with anything. Because we're getting bits and pieces, which is why we have all of these certain diagnoses in here, because we're only seeing the explosive sides. That's why we said intermittent explosive disorder at first, because we're only seeing the explosive sides. And when she's not explosive, she seems to be fairly calm. I don't want to say normal because, there's no such thing really, but she's fairly calm and able to socialize and communicate with people on a normal level. So we would definitely have to have way more information to truly be able to give her a diagnosis.
Agreed. Yeah, this is all for entertainment.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a personality going on in there somewhere. What the personality is, she's one of those individuals that becomes like a NOS. And for those that don't know what NOS is, well, they don't have NOS anymore, but back in the day, it used to be called not otherwise specified. So it's basically like a catch-all. Like you have a little bit of a whole lot of things. You got a little bit of borderline. You got a little bit of dependent. You got a little bit of, what's another one I could probably think in there for her?
OCPD.
Obsessive compulsive. That's
What makes you say that?
Just the thoughts. But that's why I say a little bit, not like.
Because when she go there,
when she
does
goes.
become obsessive with those thoughts.
And
I
that's
can see
in
that.
all of the explosive situations.
Okay, I can see where you're going with that.
But just not the stereotypical.
Yeah.
Like neat freak part.
No. Yeah.
Because there's a difference, guys, between OCD and OCPD.
Totally different. Got a friend with that.
Yeah. My mom, I have explained this to my mother, and she's like, "Oh, that's okay."
It's whole. And anytime we talk about a personality disorder, this one day we will kind of go into those. A personality disorder is a whole other level of being. It's a whole. You can say, "Oh, do you got dependency issues?" But having a dependent disorder, personality,
it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, it's what you would think, and then times it by 10. So she's one of those NOS people for me. Like she has a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, but not the full criteria really for any one of those.
not based off of what we're seeing.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So now she really gone. She is gone. So they're on the yacht. We're now at the last little bits of the movie now.
They had the wedding.
No, they were getting ready to. They hadn't got married yet.
I thought they had got married and was getting ready to go on a honeymoon.
Yeah. When they're on the yacht, they already got married. Because she said, "Where's my wedding dress?"
She was taking it off. She wanted to get comfortable. And then old girl had the wedding dress on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was her wedding gift. Because it was named
Gloria.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Gloria.
See, I was thinking that they were getting prepared, like they were kind of preparing for getting married.
No, they had just gotten married. They got married and then they got on the yacht.
Yeah, they had the pictures and everything. Well, you see them doing the walk away and snapping pictures part.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so they get to she's on the yacht. They doing their thing, and then here come Melinda. She's wearing.
Yeah, so
The
I don't
wedding
even know how
dress.
she got in that wedding dress because as small as new wife is.
Yeah.
yeah. I couldn't watch the end of it. Like after
was
Diana
so
started
sad.
looking, after Diana started looking for her wedding dress, and she ran her bathwater, I turned it off. I couldn't watch it again. I mean, I saw it the first time, but I couldn't watch it again.
It's one of those, not the scene per se, but what is happening in the scene is just so heartbreaking, especially as a therapist, and you see
The spiral.
it's like, oh Lord, you just be wanting to, not save in the literal sense of save people, but you just be wanting to snatch them up and get them together, because we've had clients that we know have gone through spirals that are intense like that, and it's my heart was breaking for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is true defeat. That this is when this woman has lost all sense of hope. She's lost all sense of worth. That there's literally nothing else for me to live for.
Yeah.
It's very sad. It was definitely very sad.
It hurt my feelings.
And it's also kind of like that, I don't know if I want to say if I can't have you.
No, that was appropriate because that's exactly what was happening.
Yeah. Like if I can't have you, then she definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell she had enough wherewithal to get her off the boat. Her problem really was not with the woman. Her problem was with her ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she was for real gone, she'd killed everybody. It would have been a murder-suicide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
I mean, that was never going to happen in her head. But
but she shoots Robert,
mm-hmm.
then proceeds to chop him somewhere on his body with an axe. But in the midst of this, her foot gets caught up in a chain and she ends up drowning.
Yeah, he pushes the button as he's rolling around, and it releases the anchor that catches on the dress she shouldn't have had on in the first place. If you would have came in your sweats and your Vaseline,
it got caught around her ankle. She stepped in a circle, like it was like wrapped up, like,
and then
it caught around her leg, and it drug her down to the bottom,
and she drowned in the ocean with the sharks.
And I was like, that's such a sad way for her life to end.
And I would have immediately called her therapist and the judge, and I'd have both of their jobs and their licenses, because you can tell she's spiraling.
Yeah.
And she has a history of spiraling. She may not have got arrested for the trailer situation, but I'm guaranteeing it's somewhere on record somewhere. And I imagine they would have brought that up in court in order to get a protective order, just from some comments and the dress situation.
Yeah.
One thing we did kind of miss is that her family, too little too late again, tried to rally around her at the end. Her friend was trying to be there for her, and she done got the house back. She's sleeping on a mattress. She ain't nothing else in the house.
That demonic dancing that she was doing,
girl, she was throwed.
Yeah.
Shout out to Houston, Texas. But what ended up happening is she just snuck off. Because they was like, we need to go be around her while the wedding day. That was the wedding day. And so I was like, no, y'all should have been with her the whole week. And y'all probably should have had her admitted, committed, whatever way you want to say it, because y'all know how she is. Like, I would totally be different, have a different mindset if all of a sudden she just broke and started doing stuff like this. Nah, old girl been doing stuff like this.
Yeah. And the thing is, y'all know it because y'all rallied around her outside. Y'all set up shop outside, making sure she couldn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
But y'all didn't have all corners covered.
Yeah.
But I mean, the scene ends with his little ankle kind of bleeding and dangling a little bit. She's floating in the bottom with the lights on her, which clearly you can't see no bodies at nighttime in the the ocean, and then Diana running back onto the yacht with help because she's obviously they hadn't been at sea that long or whatever, and so he got to save his life. He didn't die, but Diana gone. I mean, not Diana, Melinda gone.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we got.
Man,
Yeah. Man, that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So sad.
It is.
literally and figuratively.
So what we rating this one?
As far as I'll say, I would give it 4, to be honest. If we doing 1 to 5 as usual, I would give it 4. I don't know if it's only 1 or 2. It's gonna get the perfect score, and other people not gonna agree with me, but that's not the point. Because I feel like Tyler Perry did a great job of showcasing mental health, as well as the breakdown, the spiral. It showed it from a multitude of angles, like what could lead up to it, how family members ignore it, the court system. It talked about different types of relationships, because we didn't even talk about this, how the craziness that was going on in the other sisters' marriages, and
Oh yeah, we
people
we did totally skip over
having
that.
side babies and really liking other things that they could have had if that's what they wanted. So I think it was well versed, and for once, good acting as well.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, I can say the same. Give it a 4 because I also like that it pointed out what we had another session on about dating and marrying potential.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the only thing I would add to your part of everything else.
Yeah, I would agree with everything y'all said. All right, guys. Well, that's all, folks. Hopefully y'all enjoy this one.
Yes.
Help the algorithms, guys.
Say something in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts were, as well as if y'all do have other movies that y'all want us to review. We do have a long list from our lovely interns that were at our anniversary. They gave us a lot of great suggestions, but if there was something that you particularly want us to unpack, please let us know.
Must be this volume control.
So, okay, interns, process your notes. Be sure to catch us next session and find us on all major platforms at the RePsychled Podcast.
If you're a new intern, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Thanks for listening. And remember, we are shifting and reshaping our psyche through healing conversations and connections, one discussion at a time.